in the past, including mind expert, motivational guru, and inspirational speaker, but never a money expert. That was until I was introduced to an audience during a London investment convention as the leading authority on the achievement of ultimate monetary mindset. Although a fancy title and it sounded impressive, I didn't have a clue what it meant. Later that evening on the train home, I was reflecting on how my presentation went and what I'd change next time, when a fellow passenger looked at me and asked, in a typically British style, "Busy day, mate?" I paused for a moment and answered, "No, actually it's been great." It was at that moment I realised that my work-life balance couldn't have been any better. In fact, the introduction earlier on that day had been spot on. I was earning a substantial income and doing what I love, and fulfilling my legacy statement, inspiring others to achieve great things. Throughout my professional career as a motivational speaker, I can say I've inspired many thousands of people to pursue a life of abundance. Within this short audio, I will share some of my secrets to achieving a life of monetary freedom, several steps to a debt-free living, and several steps that you can pass on. The first thing to understand about money is that it is neither good, bad, or indifferent. Money cannot solely create happiness, nor can it create sadness. It can, however, create opportunities, and within these opportunities you can find many desires of life, including fulfillment, recognition, security, and freedom. From a young age to an early adulthood, I can say that I never wanted for anything. My father worked very hard to provide for the family, and as a result we lived very comfortably. We had several holidays every year, the fridge was always full, and I was never bored. I can say that life was fantastic. This, however, against the general perception of my background, changed dramatically when I left home. I had little or no respect for money and was severely broke for several years as a result. Those tough times were highlighted by the birth of my son Joseph in 2004. I remember several times it got so bad that our freezer contained nothing but an empty ice cube tray, and the only thing in the cupboards were partially full packets of rice. I remember other times where I couldn't afford to put fuel in my car, and would make excuses about the car being in the shop so I could get a lift into work with colleagues. Any money that I earned or could get my hands on that wasn't automatically taken by the bank went towards a retail therapy. My debt was spiraling out of control. I stupidly thought that the little purchases, normally paid for using my credit card at 24.5%, wouldn't make an overall impact on the final balance. At times, I would spend just a few seconds convincing myself that everything would be okay when making irrational purchases, but would spend hours at night losing sleep about how it was rationally going to be done. I can say that I made some terrible mistakes. I borrowed money to pay back other borrowed money, and built up substantial debt on credit cards. I reached my borrowing limit at one point whilst unemployed and in the receipt of state benefits. My life was miserable. I was mentally depressed and physically exhausted. I was at an all-time low. I couldn't see how it would get any better. But it did. I believe that each of us can look back at our past and remember various pinnacle points, where we have decided enough is enough. These are referred to within my seminars as aha moments. This happened to me while washing dishes at a restaurant of my friend's parents, the Bella Vista. Prior to this, I served with the British Army, and was particularly proud of the fact that I was still in my early 20s and had served in operational theatre. Although skint, I had travelled the world, could tell a good story, and had ample civilian qualifications. While washing dishes wasn't beneath me, as I stood there with my hands in soapy water, I decided that I had to take massive action to get my life out of this rut. I wanted a life of excitement and to be in a position to provide for my family, just as my father had. At this low point I made a personal vow, which consequently turned out to be the turning point for my financial future. I vowed that I would pay back all of the debt I had incurred, including interest, and be a millionaire by the time I was 30. No one was going to tell me that I couldn't. Looking back now at these awful times, I can sincerely say that I wouldn't have changed them. The experience gained has allowed me to talk from a point of knowledge, an advantage point over other motivational speakers, and act as a leverage point when reviewing my own financial situation. It has also fueled me to give back to those in a similar situation. I want to help them to understand that what is happening financially within their lives currently doesn't have to happen in the future, unless obviously they want it to. This audio has been written for those facing a similar situation, or those taking the necessary steps to ensure that this doesn't happen to them. Whatever the reason for listening to this, I can guarantee one thing. No matter how difficult the financial circumstances may seem, or how bleak your future may look, with the planning contained within this audio and the massive action you'll take afterwards, it's not going to be long before your monetary mindset has dramatically changed and you're living with financial freedom. Chapter 1. Know what you're spending and what you're saving. A common misconception is that money management is something hereditary, that the way that you control your money is a direct result of those who have influenced your life. Although this can be true in so many different ways, it isn't the actual truth. It's worth noting that this is often the main reason that people blame debt, blaming those closest to them. Within my research over the years, one thing that clearly differentiates those who have money and those that don't is the way in which they talk about money. Those who don't clearly talk about the lack of it in a slightly negative way, while those that do talk about it with passion and excitement. When making the transition between without to with, assuming you wouldn't want to go the other way, it's important to understand consciously about how you talk about it. More importantly, be aware of what you associate with having it. What do I mean? Well, when thinking about money, you should work out what you think it means to have money, and what you think that having money will actually bring. Knowing why you want money in the first place is a must for anyone who wants more of it. In my world, if you do not know what you're aiming for, you'll never actually notice the opportunities that will assist you in achieving your desired goal. Another thing to consider is to change your internal linguistics, your self-talk, that you associate with having money. If you say to yourself, "I wish I had more money," you're simply making a statement and your mind will work towards achieving it. However, in this case, it's simply a wish and nothing tangible. I call these want statements. To be the most effective, you must change these to action statements. For example, what can I do today to create £1,000 within the next 48 hours? In making this change, you are changing the thought process and the answers that your mind produces. If you take away nothing from this audio, apart from this effective linguistic change, then I would say that you're almost guaranteed to face a brighter financial future. The next step, which seems obvious but is often overlooked for some reason, is to make a detailed list and know how much you're spending. Just as you would draw up a business plan when setting up a business, when restructuring your personal finances and re-educating yourself, you will need to break down the details about where your money goes and where it comes from. In completing this simple exercise, you will highlight potential areas that could instantly change your financial responsibilities and highlight areas that require immediate attention. When following through this process, you will establish your spending habits and clearly differentiate changes that need to happen from those that are already serving a purpose. Who knows, you may already be halfway to achieving financial freedom and didn't even know it. Learning and controlling your spending habits isn't hard. Within this chapter, I have compiled several simple steps to follow that can assist you to create a better understanding of your overall financial situation. Although you may have buried your head in the sand in the past, this eye-opener is essential in getting your financial situation back on track. Without the basic understanding of your commitments, you could be paying thousands of pounds in unnecessary charges and delaying your financial freedom. Step 1. Getting honest about your feelings. It goes without saying that the feelings you associate with certain things are the driving force to either keep you going or simply give up. The feelings that you associate with obtaining a life of financial freedom must create a feeling of positivity and motivate you, if this change is going to be permanent. Without changing your negative feelings at the foundation stage, you are massively increasing the chances of an unwanted relapse. A great way to identify your feelings, both good and bad, is to keep what I call a feelings diary. Within this diary, record all of the feelings that you associate with having or owning certain things. For example, buying a coffee during your lunch break offers a feeling of normality, or having the latest mobile phone offers a feeling of social acceptance. When recording all of these feelings, you may be surprised how quickly your opinion changes towards certain things that you have never really given a second thought to. It's likely that just after a few days, you will make decisions based on rational needs, as opposed to socially enforced needs. Let's face it, having an instant coffee at the office rather than a fashionable latte from the local coffee shop isn't going to change the way that the world sees you, but more the way that you think the world is going to see you. Think about it this way. Saving an average of £2.30 per day per latte over a 5-day week and a 48-hour working week offers a potential saving of £552. Although keeping a diary may be out of the norm for most people, in my world, it works as a valuable stepping tool in understanding how you see the world. It also unlocks the negative habits associated with your spending patterns. By following through with this exercise, you will also understand the effects that money has that you may have been completely oblivious to. Step 2. Know to the penny what is coming in. I'm amazed when working with businesses how they don't actually know offhand what they have earned over the last month, 6 months, or even the last 12 months. Although we are not talking about business within this audio, a lot of the principles that I use can be easily transferred across to personal finance management and work exceptionally well within the planning stages. In this sense, knowing what you have coming in, your household income, on a monthly basis is essentially one of the most critical things that you must work out. One of the best ways to do this is to simply get the last 6 months of your bank statements. If you need to get new ones from the bank, then do so. And a highlighter. Identify all of the payments going into your bank account and then add them up. With a big black marker, write the total in big letters in the center of the front page of each month and lay them out on the table in month-by-month order. From this stack of bank statements, create a list of each of the income sources. Start by including all of the obvious primary sources, such as wages and benefits. Then move on to some of the secondary incomes that you may receive by other means, such as the income from eBay sales or other irregular support that you may receive from family or friends. Once you've compiled this list, look back and see what security it offered over the last 12 months, over the last 6 months, and over the last month. Make a note of any fluctuations that are expected, such as sales commission during a seasonal period or national buying trends. Once you've done this, write down a projected minimum and maximum household income. Now cross-reference this figure against the amount you wrote down earlier using the black marker. Make sure that they are very close, if not identical. While you've completed this exercise, you may uncover previous incomes that have been forgotten, or you may have created ideas that could offer an alternative income and assist you to clear any outstanding debts or arrears. Remember, debt is temporary, while monetary freedom lasts forever. Step 3. Look at your debt in detail. This is often the trickiest part of the whole phase. Naturally, as humans, we have a sense of pride over our past decisions. This exercise can question your ability to function rationally and often airs a sense of stupidity, especially if working with a partner or loved one. The first thing to accept is that you're only human, and you're not alone if you have spent recklessly in the past. In fact, I'm sure that everybody has done so at some stage within their life. The good news is that you have identified your problem and are addressing it, so you should congratulate yourself for doing so. Within this phase, it's important to get the numbers exactly right. If you've lost certain details about your loan or payments, then request the payments from the lender. Avoid estimating figures, as this can dramatically change the way in which you compile the repayment plan later described. If you are talking to lenders regarding your accounts, you may want to ask them if they can offer any incentives for paying back the loan early, or if there are any redemption penalty charges. Some loans can be more costly to finish early, while other lenders are keen to recoup some of their money. Once you've received all of the data that you require, list the loan details, such as the amount outstanding and total amount owed. In addition, work out the total of the cost for the loan and the date started and the final payment date. Start date 20th of 1st XX. End date 20th of 1st XX. Loan for a sofa. Total borrowed £2,500. Interest £500. Total cost of loan £3,000. Amount outstanding £1,500. Monthly payments £125. Complete this list for all of your payments. Once you've completed this exercise, write a short statement of no more than 250 words about what you think about each loan and whether it was worth the commitment. Include information such as alternatives that you could have taken and what you would do in the future if you were faced with the same decision. Step 4. Scour your statements. This is what I call the reality phase. The aim of this step is to identify any patterns that may have been happening subconsciously within your spending habits. Within this phase, you will need your last 6 months' bank statements used earlier, and a red pen or a different colour highlighter. Start at the beginning and go through all of the payments that you have made over the last 6 months, of a total less than £30, via debit card or cash withdrawal. Once you have identified each one, total the amount withdrawn for each month and the number of transactions you have made. Having studied thousands of people over the years, one thing is apparent. These microtransactions tend to be forgotten and slip under the radar with any forms of personal finance planning. Sure, we all include utilities such as direct debits and other standard debts, but often fail to incorporate these potentially fatal microtransactions within our budget. Once these microtransactions have been highlighted, go through and identify what they represent, and if asked to do so, how you can avoid them in the future. You may find that these include lunch or socialising and other off-the-cuff transactions. Over the next 2 weeks, pause before you make any microtransactions and ask yourself if you can do without it. Before long, this process will be installed and any unwanted spending habits will be capped. Step 5. Revisit direct debits and standing orders. As a mass, we often assume that banks are efficient and any cancellation requests have been made or have been actioned. This, however, is not always the case. Spend some time going through all of your direct debits and standing orders over the last year. Make sure that any unauthorised payments are reclaimed or most certainly have been stopped. During this exercise, spend some time dividing these automated payments into 2 categories: primary essential and secondary non-essential. Essential automated payments should be considered as mortgage payments, utilities, and anything else that you would consider being an absolute need in order for you to live. Non-essential automated payments should be considered as luxury items. These include subscriptions, monthly phone contracts, gym memberships, and other expenses that would not be considered as an essential need to live. Once you have collated both lists, work out which essential items can be transferred over to non-essential, then which non-essential items can be cancelled or suspended until your financial situation improves. It's worth noting that some of these payments may require a notice period or require a minimum contract term. Therefore, you should check with each provider before cancelling them with the bank. Remember, you should remind yourself that this is only a temporary arrangement. Each of the items that are suspended can be reactivated at a later date if you decide you want to reinstate them. For example, pausing your gym membership for 6 months can equate to an average of £60 per month saving and a total of £360 over the year. Lowering your monthly phone tariff by £10 a month saves an additional £120 a year. Step 6. Take a course for 6 months. Although taking a course for 6 months seems completely irrelevant to saving money, it's a great way to pass the time. Boredom in my world is one of the major causes for unnecessary spending and one of the key causes for most people falling into spiral debt. Simply signing up to a course at your local school or college can massively reduce your chances of overspending. For example, rather than attending a yoga class twice a week at £8 per session, why not attend a 6-week basic yoga course at your local college? You will usually find that various government incentives can assist with the expenses that you may incur, or concessions may apply for those claiming state benefits. Allocating time of an evening or attending weekend workshops can be an affordable way to keep your mind off any negative points associated with financial management. As a plus, it provides a valid reason if faced with any peer pressure for temporary lapse in social attendance. Who knows, attending college may inspire you to take further learning within an industry that is more suited to your lifetime objective or legacy. Step 7. Know what it is you really want. For most people, it can be a hard question to answer, especially if faced with more than one incentive. However, it's the one question that needs to be answered with absolute clarity and certainty. Knowing the reason why you want financial freedom often acts as an important leverage point and provides some much-needed motivation when facing difficult situations or setbacks. It also works as a guidance system for your subconscious mind, constantly altering and realigning when required, ensuring you stay on track. A good way to establish the actual reasons for obtaining financial freedom is to get a piece of paper and write down all of the things that you want in life. Start by writing the materialistic things such as a nice house, sports car, nice holidays, and so on. Then continue by writing down the opportunities that financial freedom offers, such as spending time with friends and family, watching your children play sports, going to daytime viewings at the cinema, going to the gym, and so forth. Then finally, list all of the emotional feelings associated with obtaining financial freedom, such as happiness, lack of stress, increased love, a feeling of the weight off your shoulders. Once you have collated this comprehensive list, rewrite it in a list format with the headers: materialistic, opportunities, and emotional, placing each of your answers in a hierarchy of importance. In summary, reviewing your financial situation and knowing why you want financial freedoms is a simple task to complete. Having a written understanding of your current future situation is essential and often works as a personal contract. If you fail, you've only yourself to blame. If you feel the need and want to, collate all of your findings and present it in a similar way that you would write a business plan. Put it on your breakfast table and remind yourself daily of your personal contract. Chapter 2. Following Successful Money Patterns. One thing that has always surprised me is how some people just seem to be rich, no matter what they do. They always seem to be able to make money, whereas others can't seem to earn enough to feed their families and are constantly yo-yoing from one debt to another. During my research over the last 10 years and having experienced my very own dilemmas, I've heard many fascinating rags to riches stories. Some were clearly fabricated and others are truly inspirational. Having dissected and researched a number of these stories, one thing in my world is always guaranteed. It doesn't matter and is completely irrelevant of what background you come from or how well you speak, or even your educational standard. What is important and the most critical aspect of achieving financial freedom is your attitude. One of my favourite examples is found within the story of Sylvester Stallone and his Oscar-winning film Rocky. Sylvester Stallone attended school in Philadelphia, where he first started acting. He then spent 2 years instructing at the American College of Switzerland in Geneva. When he arrived back in the United States, he became a drama major at the University of Miami, where he also began to write. Before his college graduation, he moved to New York to pursue an acting career. After many months of auditioning and persistently harassing talent agents, he still had no success. In 1974, he got a break as one of the leads in The Law of the Flatbush. Despite this being a small break, he struggled to build momentum as an actor. He continued auditioning with setback after setback, often taking negative criticism towards his work. After several months, he focused his attention on writing screenplays, which also failed to offer a sustainable income. Stallone was broke and living in a desperate situation. It is said that he also pawned his wife's jewellery. He could barely afford food or the heating in his apartment, and often took refuge during the winter months in a library. During this time, at the library, he began reading books from writers such as Tolstoy and Edgar Allan Poe. By this stage, he was desperate to get work. He didn't want to take an average job for the fear of losing sight of his dream of becoming an actor. One day, Stallone was sitting at home watching the fight between Webner and Ali. Webner was getting absolutely slaughtered, but kept holding his ground and coming back for more. This underdog was really fighting for it, despite the slim chance that he would get close to winning. This fight inspired Stallone to begin writing based on his inspiration from this fighter. It is said that he wrote for 24 hours straight, and at the end of this time he had written the entire script to Rocky. He began trying to sell his screenplay to many producers, with endless rejections. This went on for several months. He was so poor by this time that he decided to sell his dog, as he couldn't afford to feed him any more. Stallone waited outside of the local store asking people if they would buy his dog. Eventually someone bought it for around $50. He continued pursuing the screenplay that he had written. Eventually somebody liked it and they agreed to do the movie. He was wrapped and told them that he wanted to play the part of Rocky. They declined and told him that he was a writer, not an actor. Stallone disagreed and told them that he was in actual fact an actor. He declined their offer of over $100,000 despite this poverty. A couple of weeks later they contacted him with an even higher offer, and Stallone still insisted that he played Rocky. Once again they declined. The offer kept rising just so that he would sell them the film without playing in the part. The price eventually got to around $400,000, and he still declined. He was certain that he was an actor and that was it, and there was no compromise. Eventually they offered Stallone $25,000 and offered him the lead role. He accepted. Then the first thing he did was go back to the store to buy his dog back. He waited for 3 days for the guy to come back, and finally there he was with the dog. He offered the guy $1,500 to buy his dog back, but the man declined. It ended up costing him over $15,000 and a part in the movie to buy back his dog. The reason I've included this story is that it clearly demonstrates the various steps that people with a strong enough reason will go through to break the pattern of poverty. It shows that you have all of the resources that you need to overcome any obstacle and achieve the aim you have in life. Your education, background or financial situation does not matter. Stallone, against all of the setbacks and insults, pursued his dream and achieved it in an admirable way. He took massive action in order to create his own success and secure a life of financial freedom. Sure, there were stages where he had no money. However, his desire to have monetary freedom in doing something he loved was strong enough to overcome the pain. I think most people would agree that his mental attitude sets an awesome example of what steps you must take in order to live the life you desire. So what next? Now you have decided that you are ready to start working towards a life of financial freedom, and you have accepted that the end result is actually what you want. Next you will need to create a strategy or plan with a set of simple, clear steps. You will also need to know what type of spending strategies you are currently using. Only once you've established your spending pattern, then you can work out what or how you're going to change it. These are what I consider to be the 4 main types of spending pattern. When listening to them, you may find yourself falling between 2 or more, so don't worry, this is most common. But the most important thing to remember throughout this phase is not what you're doing wrong. It's having an understanding of your spending pattern in order to make them work in your favour. The first, direct pattern. This extroverted buyer is very direct, decisive, competitive, results-orientated, impatient, and generally a quick buyer. They are primarily interested in how a product or service is going to make their life better, normally by saving money or time. They will generally make a decision to purchase and stop at nothing before they complete their purchase. Value at times can often outweigh the cost of the purchase. Each purchase is looked at and described as an investment purchase. The second, sporadic pattern. This buyer is what I call an super extrovert. They are very socially engaging, enthusiastic, charming, optimistic, inspiring, and tend to be an impulse decision maker. They are primarily interested in the people selling or offering the product over the benefits of owning the product itself. They can feel obliged to purchase based on the sense of feelings associated with owning the product rather than its practicality. A purchase can be made without any forethought to the repercussions in the future, such as cost or affordability. Each purchase is looked at and described as a spur-of-the-moment decision rather than a need. The third is a timely pattern. This person is introverted and very reserved. They are relaxed and are hesitant to open up or share any information about themselves or their situation. Because they are hesitant, they are slow decision makers who like traditional, proven products, guarantees and assurances. Each purchase is looked at and described as the best that money could buy at the time, and considered purchases to be a need rather than a nicety. The fourth is the researcher pattern. This introverted person is methodical, very skeptical, cautious, analytical, and precise. They will ask a lot of questions and will not want to reveal much of anything. They are perfectionists who want to know why the product is better than the rest. They are extremely slow decision makers and are highly suspicious of new or unproven products. Each purchase is looked at and described as being better than XYZ, and backed up with a catalogue of reasons supporting their decision. Once you have established the type of strategy that currently best describes your style, think about what you would like to do in lieu of it. Have fun with this phase and create your very own purchasing strategies with the end in mind. For example, for items under £30 you might be cautious and research before you buy. For items over £500 you may want to be analytical, very sceptical and results orientated. Remember, these changes are not going to happen overnight. They may take many attempts, and you may find that you have to tweak them slightly. However, once you have found the perfect one, you'll never find the need to evaluate your spending habits. If you are particularly forgetful and think that you may find this task difficult to follow, here is my top strategy. Write your new purchasing strategy and the reason on a piece of brightly coloured card or paper, and put it inside your wallet or purse. This way, whenever you make a purchase, you will be instantly reminded of your goal and the process that you agreed to follow. This visual reminder can often work as a habit breaker and can, with time, be slowly taken out of the strategies that you follow. Chapter 3. Paying off and living free. Having been in debt, I know that the speed of debt can happen fast, especially when there are high interest charges. Getting into debt is not necessarily the fault of the loan amount, but the added charges and interest that mounts up over a period of time. Either way, dealing with your debt in a responsible manner is one thing that you should take seriously. Failing to do so can lead to an abundance of darkness and nastiness. Although these wise words may seem unhelpful when looking at a mountain of debt, I know personally what I'm talking about. You can be assured that it's not the amount of the debt that needs your focus, but what massive action you are going to do to take achievable, manageable monthly payments. Taking small, achievable steps can often be the best way to pay off your debts, ideally the best place to start. But before you get started, you must avoid being or adopting a blamer state. As human beings, we generally do not like admitting fault. You only have to watch the news to find out what I mean. When looking at spiralling debt with a fault hat on, you will not be able to focus on what's important. Why? Well, most people, when looking at bad finances, blame the small print, interest rates, or various other factors. The truth is that none of these are the true reason behind debt. Neither are they the reason that people fall into debt. I know some people that can keep their credit cards within their wallet for months without showing them the light of day, while others will get them out on every occasion that warrants further debt. So the question is, if you are not to blame, then who is? The banks? The loan sharks? The government? The answer is, it doesn't matter. In fact, you can waste a lot of time looking for reasons why, or you can simply get on with doing something about it. Sure, the banks will utilize the very latest in advancement techniques to make borrowing attractive. Loan sharks will definitely promote short-term borrowing during festive periods, or promote fantastic offers following national spending high points. But in the end, it's up to you to ensure that you resist and do not fall into the trap of these marketing ploys. The buck ultimately stops with you. The sooner you accept responsibility for your own spending habits or debt, then the sooner you can live the life of financial freedom. So avoid wasting time on looking at the reasons why, and start looking for the reasons how. So where do you start and what do you do first? As with anything, I will always recommend that in order to avoid doing something, you must first understand the reason why, and become an expert within the relevant field. So in this sense, the goal is financial freedom, and the job title that you must adopt is financial advisor. As your own financial advisor, you should first understand the reason why you, the client, follow the habits that you do, and what motivates you to spend. Within Chapter 2, we discuss the type of buying patterns that you fall into, but taking this a step further, you should also consider the subcategories that best suit your personality. These personality traits will often determine the value that you put on money. For example, new business owners will often lack the respect for money until they have very little of it. Only once they have been close to losing everything they have worked hard to achieve will they actually respect the value of money and the benefit it brings. Another common example is that single parents will often more likely, during festive periods, rank rental or mortgage money with less priority than allocated towards festive presents. Although these descriptions are very vague and offer generalized findings, how you advise yourself and understand the driving factors behind your spending will greatly affect the long-term effectiveness of this change. Listening to the following headers, ask yourself which best describes your thoughts about money and what value you associate with the word money. Head in the sand, ignoring the facts. We have all been in a situation where no matter how important it is to do something, we will always find a better way to do something that we enjoy doing more. Putting your head in the sand when it comes to your finances is a sure way for them to become overloaded with late payment charges and finally court appearances or default notices. Ignoring the facts could create a situation where you actually become more completely disassociated from the life of debt and worry, and the situation that is snowballing out of control. You should ask yourself, when the post arrives, do you look at the envelopes and make a conscious choice over which ones you open and which ones you leave? Do you avoid answering calls through the fear of it being a collection agent chasing you for late payments? Do you say to yourself, I'll deal with that next month or next week? If you follow these traits, you could find yourself slowly getting into a situation where your debts become uncontrollably spiraling out of control. Face the facts and pause. Decide now to open your eyes to your debt and make a commitment today to at least start to recognize this habit. You only live once, freedom or shackles. When talking to people about their financial situation and analyzing their spending habits, there is always one phrase that seems to appear at least once during a consultation. Ah, well, you only live once, don't you? Although I agree that life should be about living life to its fullest, I'm not sure the intention from the creator of that phase was at any cost. Living life to its full while in abundance of debt is certainly not the best way to create happiness, or compensate for a lack of that missing part of the life puzzle. As silly as it may seem, when put in this context, buying or spending just because you live once should not be a justification for being in debt. In fact, taking this attitude or adopting this state will often create a massive resentment towards the items purchased or the lender associated with the debt. Ask yourself, when shopping, do you use the words, well, you only live once, when spending more than you had expected? Do you socialize more than you can actually afford? When arranging a night out with friends, do you buy a new outfit to compensate for the feeling of guilt? Are you shackled to monthly payments for purchases made more than 2 years ago? Whatever situation you are in right now, you have a choice today, this very second, if you are going to continue. Or are you going to take massive action to do something about it? Spending money just because you feel that life gives you the option to isn't going to give you the feelings that you think it will. Money isn't a substitute for the stresses that debt brings, and spending more of it does not offer a solution to your current situation. Get realistic with your situation and avoid believing that you have the option to spend what you have available. Lenders aren't offering free money. It replaces the pain. Retail therapy. Retail therapy is probably one of the most common words bandied around as a justification to spend without feeling a sense of negative judgment from others. Spending because you feel that it replaces the focus of personal pain is most likely the motive behind this personality type. However, when looking at it from a place of financial freedom, it rarely offers the long-term fulfillment or security. In fact, shopping because you feel it replaces the pain of another situation within your life is considered one of the most reckless states to adopt. From experience, after the initial spending rush, two situations will arise. The first is to confront the initial problem that caused the irrational spending, as this would not have been relieved no matter how much money was spent. The second is the need to gain closure from a third party such as a friend or relative, who will confirm that this blip within your life was acceptable considering the problems you were facing at the time. In truth, retail therapy as a collective actually offers you an acceptable reason to repeat this negative pattern in a situation within the future until you consider it to be an acceptable pursuit. Ask yourself, do you see money as a means to make you happy when feeling down or upset? Does spending money offer a sense of self-gratification? Do you spend money without thinking about the long-term consequences? Although shopping should be considered as an enjoyable pursuit and hard work should be rewarded, doing so at the risk of your future well-being should seriously be considered as a bad habit. If you consider this an addiction based on a deeper issue, then you may find it beneficial to talk to a professional therapist or practitioner. Overcoming deeply rooted issues can resolve the need to mask personal pain. Avoid one problem becoming many. Spending because of a purpose and a reason will curb this addictive nature. For example, only take cash or your credit cards out when you have a specific reason or need. If they can, so can I. It's a right, not a privilege. When looking at the majority of national spending issues, it goes without saying that debt is something that should be considered an epidemic. Global spending seems to be a constant issue and topic among the media. It is therefore no surprise that money has not been respected over the last several years, with many major international banks even becoming nationalised as a result of poor money management. The lack of suitable role models has without a doubt filtered down to the very people who trusted in those with a position of responsibility. However, this merely outlines the need to be responsible for our own actions and utilise our own risk radar and avoid following suit with the majority. Many people, when blaming others for their spending habits or massive debt, actually look at the ability to gain credit as a right and not a privilege. In some cases, they create a world where it's acceptable to live within an overdraft or the norm to have an extensive credit card bill. My father has always said, "Be a shepherd and not a sheep," meaning that we all should lead by example and avoid following the majority with this spending habit. Just because something is considered acceptable by the nation doesn't necessarily mean that it's acceptable to you or one that you should follow. This is especially true when the repercussions have such a detrimental effect on your health. Ask yourself, do you look at friends or family and follow their spending habits? Do your peers follow a similar spending habit to you? Do you feel the need to compete with a friends' and family's purchases, such as designer clothing, TVs, mobile phones, cars, houses or holidays? Do you look at others with a sense of resentment when owning items that you would like, and work out for ways in which you can purchase them? Although your situation may be partially acceptable based on your education and lack of support, it does not offer an excuse for future spending habits. Start looking at your finances with a sense of individuality and question the potential issues that could and will arise should the economy or your personal circumstances change. Time will pay the lost loser. When looking at the majority of financial situations where things have gone from bad to worse, there seems to be a common denominator. Although time can prove to offer many solutions, time within debt means one thing: interest. Along with time, hope also plays a large factor within this personality type. From experience, time and hope will never come to those who do nothing about it, especially when dealing with a mountain of debt. It's worth noting at this point that debt will often create an inability to see potential opportunities that will create a better life. The sooner it's accepted and dealt with, the sooner a life of financial freedom can be experienced. Ask yourself, do you scour the job papers looking for a better paid position simply to service your debt? Do you hope that something will come about and relieve you of your debt? Do you think that time will offer a solution to your debt problems? Are you holding on to something that could resolve all of your financial worries? Avoid getting into the mindset that time will offer the solution to your financial circumstances. Sure, there are many situations that can benefit your financial situation. However, there are more that will affect your debt control in a negative way. Being honest with your current situation and what actually will happen in the future is essential in the effective management within your financial situation. Look with open eyes. Don't play on ignorance. It can be easy at times, especially when times are tough, physically and mentally, to play on your ignorance. Many people who are faced with debt seem surprised when the pain has finally caused them to take note and accept how hard the situation has become. The famous last words seem to always be, "I didn't know it was that bad." However, unlike illness that can strike at the last minute, debt will always creep up unless it's given your full attention throughout its lifetime. Ask yourself, do you know the exact amount of your income and outgoings? How many minutes a month do you devote to assessing your finances? Do you worry about your bills at the last possible moment? When was the last time you worked out the total amount of debt you are in? How do you know you are financially struggling at the moment? Avoid getting into the mindset of leaving your bills to the last minute. Start planning for every set of events. If you need to, get a diary and make a note of what payments need to be made, including what reserve funds you may need to keep in the future. In summary, take some time out to establish what causes you to spend. Become your own financial advisor and take responsibility for your own actions. The more knowledge you have about your personal spending habits and the motives behind your actions, the better you will be able to deal with them. Understanding what makes you tick is half the effort in achieving financial freedom. Who better to make it happen than yourself? See your debt in black and red. There's an old saying that seeing is believing. This is especially true when it comes to managing and dealing with your finances. Getting all of your debts down on paper doesn't need to be an issue, but it can scare some people off. Working out the simple maths can provide you with the motivation required to actually take massive action. And the massive advantage being that it only needs to be done once. Some of the data would have already been collected from the overview collected in Chapter 1. Make sure you have this to hand when completing the steps within this section. These simple but highly effective steps can assist you with a greater understanding of your financial situation and develop a strategy to get your finances back on track. The best way to look at this step is as a business plan, with your debt being the business and you being the financial advisor. Taking this approach separates you slightly and gives you an impartial overview of this exercise. Step 1. For this you're going to need a pen, a ruler, a calculator and several bits of paper. Although one is needed, this allows you to take several attempts before finalising on the one that you want to work with, and about 20 minutes of your time. If you have a computer with a spreadsheet program, you may find it much faster when calculating numbers and editing the details. Step 2. Within this step, collect all of the paperwork related to your financial situation and separate the necessary debt, such as mortgage and council tax, from loans and hire purchase agreements. This information should have been collected during Step 3, Chapter 1. Within this information, you should be able to extract information required to build an overview. This includes the start date, the end date, the purpose of the loan, the total amount borrowed, interest charges, total cost for the loan, amount outstanding, and monthly payments. Once you've collated all of the information, add a total section at the bottom of the spreadsheet and calculate a total for each of the figured fields. Step 3. Within this step, you'll be creating what I call a budget sheet. This simple spreadsheet breaks down your major outgoings. These outgoings should include the primary needs. Within each of these areas, it's advisable to keep to the specifics. For example, mortgage, £1,200 a month, monthly repayment. Council tax, £147 a month, monthly payment. Primary needs may include mortgage, mortgage endowment policy, second mortgages, rent, council tax, water rates, ground rent, service charges, building and contents insurance, life insurance and pensions, gas, electricity, other fuels, housekeeping, TV rental and licence, magistrate court fines, maintenance payments, travel expenses, laundry and phone expenses, prescriptions and health costs, and any child-minding fees. Once you've collated all of the information, add the total section at the bottom of the spreadsheet and calculate a total for each of the figures. Step 4. Now create a section for your secondary needs, for example, clothing, mobile phone, entertainment, subscriptions, gym memberships and other. Keep to the basics such as mobile phone, £40, maximum. Once you've collated all of the information, add a total section at the bottom of the spreadsheet and calculate a total for each of the figure fields. Step 5. Within this step, you should collate monthly income data, collected from Step 2 in Chapter 1. This must include everything that goes into your bank account and any cash payments that go unregistered, such as regular sales on eBay. Some examples of the most common payments are wages and salary, partners' wages and salaries, job seekers' allowance, income support or pension credits, tax credits, retirement or works pensions, child benefits, incapacity benefits or ESA, maintenance, non-dependent contributions, and any other payments. Keep to the basics within this field when putting them down, such as wages from Job 1, £2,300, basic. Wages from Job 2, commission, £200. Once you've collected all of the information, add a total section at the bottom of the spreadsheet and calculate the total for each of the figure fields. Step 6. Add in all of the information onto one spreadsheet. Within this spreadsheet, you can clearly see what debt, income and outgoings you have, including totals and monthly disposable income. By looking at this in detail, you can notice how either your monthly income needs adjustment or what you need to do in order to reduce your monthly outgoings. In summary, if the monthly income is greater than your monthly outgoings and you have disposable income, then consider increasing your monthly payments to clear your debt faster. If, however, your monthly outgoings is greater than your income, then consider what steps you need to take in order to reduce them, such as cancelling secondary payments. Remember, debt is short-term, whereas financial freedom lasts forever. Planning prevents procrastination. I'm one of those people that enjoys being organised. If you were to ask one of my friends or family to describe me, I'm almost certain they would use words like regimented or systematic, or any other word associated with planning and strategies. I look at things for not necessarily what they are, but how they work. Also how they benefit my life or the lives of those around me. If something can make my life work faster or more efficiently, then I'm pretty sure it's for me. But I always haven't been like this. When looking back at those times of financial difficulty, I remember that money and debt just seemed to blend into one. My head was a blur of numbers and fear. The fear that the hole was getting bigger and eventually would swallow me up. My future seemed bleak, and as a result, I just stopped trying. As mentioned in my introduction, this was until I was cleaning dirty dishes in the Bella Vista restaurant and I decided that enough was enough. I felt I deserved to wake up in the morning excited about what news the day would bring, not fearful about how many days to the next payment on my credit card or rent. From that point, planning has changed the way I live and has had a fundamental effect on how I operate, and it can help you too. It doesn't matter how much debt you are in or whether you're just scraping by. Planning can show you things that you may have missed. It organises your finances and ensures clarity. It can also offer guidance and a much-needed sense of direction for your mind. Most importantly, it offers a plan of how you're going to achieve your overall objective, financial freedom. Within this section, utilising the information gathered within the steps, you can create a plan which will set out a forecast for the next 3 years. This forecast breaks down the monthly payments, the months in which various debts will be cleared, thereby showing monthly payments and the amount reduced per month of each debt. Using a spreadsheet, enter a timeline with months 1 to 12, 13 to 24, 25 to 36. Enter the details of the loan and the monthly repayments over the next 3 years. If you're new to spreadsheets and would like a step-by-step example of how to work out automatic numbering and auto-sum calculations, then spend a few moments to familiarise yourself by utilising the mass number of YouTube videos available. If not, a calculator will be more than satisfactory. Each month, write down how much the payments are reduced and the number of months until the loan has been cleared. This simple but effective tool can often give you the boost and demonstrate financial freedom is just a few months away. Taking this a step further, say that your personal plan is to clear all of your debts as fast as possible. Once you've cleared the debt on one of the accounts, transfer that monthly payment to the highest owed. I'd recommend this is done on all occasions. For example, if during 1 month you paid off X amount to loan 1, then transfer that monthly payment to the highest owed amount, thus increasing your monthly payments to them. If you have a second debt, which is repaid in months 13 or 14, once you have finished that debt, transfer that amount to the debt with the highest amount owed. If you transfer all of the payments once they've been paid onto the next highest amount owed, this will dramatically change the amount of time that it takes to clear all of the debts. Just think about what your life could be after the next 2 to 3 years of financial commitment. What would you do if you cleared all of your outgoings to become a disposable income per month? Would you travel, save for a car, move house? Once you've completed this section, spend a few moments writing down the answers to the previous questions. Perhaps write a personal contract to yourself, describing in detail what your life would be like, how much happier you would be, and why now is the right time to make this personal contract with yourself. What happens when the hole is too deep? Although working through the exercises will help almost every person when faced with debt, there are some people that feel that either the hole is far too deep or they require the support of others. This is perfectly acceptable. Being in debt is without a doubt one of the most daunting and the most challenging of situations, and support at times can often provide that bit of impartial closure. If you feel that you fall into this category and not sure where to start, I often find that the banks are more than willing to help those who are looking and making a conscious effort to get their personal finances back on track. Although this seems a fairly easy task to complete, many people feel ashamed of their poor money management and fear the response they will get. Therefore, shy away from contacting their lenders. Remember, fear is simply an acronym for false evidence appearing real. If after talking to your lender you still lack the confidence to deal with your debt alone, then there are many specialist support groups to help those who just can't seem to get on top of their finances. These groups will undertake many different roles, but most commonly talk to your lenders on your behalf and will attempt to come to an agreement. On occasions they may accept reduced payments or place a temporary freeze on interest. Although this may seem like an easy option to take, it's recommended to only use these services as a last resort. Altering your agreements may affect your credit score or your ability to get finance in the future. Bad debt or arrangements outside of your agreed terms can stay on your credit file for up to 6 years of the agreement ending. If you feel that this is the only solution to your financial issues, then I would recommend using organisations approved by your government or financial governing body. These services could be free and could be found by visiting your government's website. Take action today and make tomorrow the first step to a brighter financial future. Chapter 4. Saving isn't hard when you know how. Saving. Saving money by spending wisely. Saving money as form as an investment. When I was clearing my own debts, I remember a time when my father-in-law asked me what I was doing about my pension or what saving plans I had in place. I remember clearly the expression I pulled and the look on my face. I thought this man was completely mad. There I was attempting to get myself back on the straight and narrow, and here he was talking about savings. At this time I was working 3 jobs and still struggling to put food in the fridge and petrol in my car. Saving was, in my mind, something that only the wealthy did. What I failed to understand is the old saying, look after the pennies and they will look after themselves, sums up how small savings, such as putting loose change in a pot, can actually make a massive difference to your attitude towards saving. Saving the smallest amount of money can and will radically change the way that you value money and how you use it. Although within this chapter there are several tools and recommendations in which to assist you to gain a healthier financial future, there is one sentence that can change the way of thinking every time that you pull your wallet or purse from your pocket. That is, what is my return on investment, my ROI? This term, return on investment, ROI, is commonly used within business as a way of calculating what an investment, money spent by the business, or you in this instance, will see as a return, an increase in profit, faster production time, or anything else that complements the business, by the initial outlay. For example, imagine for a moment that your life was a business. Every financial decision that you made decided the fate of the long-term objective of the business. Within the business, you have employees who, just like you, have financial commitments and families to support. Using your current spending model, how long would your business survive? If you changed your way of thinking and asked the question, what is my return on investment each time that you spent money, would your business, personal life, have a better or worse outcome? Obviously better. Applying this one sentence just before making a purchase will assist and promote the benefits of saving. Plus, reprogram your way of thinking to look at the future consequences of your actions you are taking within that moment. Think about all of the micro purchases highlighted from Step 4, Chapter 1, and what temporary cuts can be made. For example, home spending on unnecessary home luxuries, candles or flowers, is £15. What is my return on investment? 0. But the house looks and smells nice. Can I put this on hold for 6 months and make the house look nice in other ways? Perhaps it's time to clear out or restyle. Monthly spending on social activities, Friday night beers or Saturday night meals out. Monthly spend £150. What is my return on investment? 0. But this is my reward for a tough week with the children or at work. Can I put this on hold for 6 months or take a class at a local college or school? Monthly spending on office or work luxuries. Take out coffee or lunch. Monthly spend £60. What is my return on investment? 0. But this is my lunchtime reward. Ask yourself, can I put this on hold for 6 months and make a healthy lunchbox to take to work? Plus, go on a coffee-free program for this time, drinking water in lieu of coffee. Monthly spending on home entertainment, DVDs or computer gaming. Monthly spend, £40. What is my return on investment? 0. But sometimes I like just chilling out at home. Ask yourself, can I put this on hold for 6 months or start a free college course which takes up this time? Although the examples given may not apply to you or may not be a temporary adjustment that suits your way of living, you must think about what you are currently spending. Ask yourself if, for a short period of time, whether it can be cut from your weekly or monthly budget. At first it may seem that life may appear dull or boring without those little luxuries. Consider affordable replacements for those that you consider a must, and eliminate those you feel that you can live without. After the 2nd or 3rd week, you may start to notice how these little cuts actually make a large difference to your overall way of living. Remember, these cuts are only short-term. Once you've completed this section, it is then time to look at other areas within your life where other major savings can be made. Here are several of the most popular ways to save thousands of pounds over the year, and will at most only take around 2 to 3 hours of your time. Take another look at your fuel bills. It's tough nowadays to watch TV without noticing the latest advertisements by energy suppliers, all looking for new custom. Keep your eye out over the coming weeks for promotions and introductory offers. Make a note of looking to change your supplier every year unless incentivized to stay. Your new supplier will take care of all of the formalities, with savings generally starting the following month after your transfer request. For a more immediate transfer, visit price comparison websites. To find these websites, Google Energy Comparison. Work out your cost of water. Installing a water meter is great to save money each month, especially if you use little of it. However, before instructing your water supplier to fit a meter, ask your neighbours if they have one and if they have noticed any substantial savings. If you water your garden night and day, wash your several cars every weekend, have 5 children and use the bath rather than a shower, then a water meter may not be a viable option. If you're a single occupant, shower at the gym and do not have a car, then a water meter may offer potential annual savings. Pay-as-you-go versus monthly contract. Mobile phones are undoubtedly a necessity within the 21st century living. However, the cost of them can be a serious mistake if you get your estimations wrong. Take some time out and re-evaluate whether you are using your existing tariff to its full potential, or if there are alternatives that may save you money. With most fixed-term mobile phone contracts, you're able to adjust your tariff monthly, either up or down after the first 6 months. Within this time, you should have an accurate understanding of your monthly usage, so remember to readjust. If you are cutting costs down, then consider a pay-as-you-go mobile plan, but be aware high usage can be more costly. If you are looking for a new phone contract, visit many different providers before signing with one. Remember to negotiate the shortest term possible. 12 months is the norm. Do not go shopping without a list. Food shopping definitely acts as one of the most expensive parts of our outgoings, in some cases the largest, but it also is an area where you can make the largest saving. Before going shopping, make a list of what you actually need. Be aware that supermarkets are experts in luring clients into overspending. Stick to what is on your list and only buy what you need. If you feel that the temptation is too great, then think about ordering your shopping online. But before you do, look for online discount codes for your supermarket. To find these discount websites, Google discount codes. Avoid underestimating the quality of own-branded goods. The majority of larger well-known supermarkets have invested in their own brands and will offer them at a lot lower prices. Avoid the perception that the packaging has an effect on its contents, as this is rarely the case. A recent study showed that the change from well-known branded products to supermarket branded products can save up to 60% of the overall total cost. This potential saving could be utilised within more financially productive areas of your saving plan. Leave designer labels to the celebrities. If you consider yourself a shopaholic and enjoy the finer branded name clothing, then seriously think about what effect it is having on your monthly budget and the reason that you are faced with debt in the first place. Until you have cleared your debt, as blunt as it may sound, you cannot afford to spend £100 on one item of clothing. If your image is very important and this area of saving is not something that you can even consider, then look for alternative ways of purchasing designer clothes. Look in local papers for frock swap and suit parties, where you can swap your wardrobe for a new one at a fraction of the price. Perhaps look online for either last year's stock or seconds. eBay-tastic. eBay, the online auction house, is a fantastic way to purchase needed items at a lesser price and sell your own unwanted items. If you have access to the internet, set up an online account and spend a few moments this weekend going around your house, loft, and don't forget the garage. Identify the items that you no longer need and feel that could be sold to pay off debts. Often, a good clear-out can offer a substantial bulk payment towards clearing a debt. Renew your insurance policies yearly. Make sure that you spend time yearly to search for the latest deals on motor, household, contents and life insurance. This can be done via various internet websites. The internet has made finding cheaper insurance easy, and you can compare hundreds of policies in just a few minutes. Do not fall into the trap of accepting your current provider. Although it may seem loyal to stay with them, they may not offer you the best saving. To find these websites, Google insurance comparison. Family days out. Family days out can be expensive, especially if you're paying full price to gain entry. Before setting off on your days out, why not plan your days out several weeks in advance and look for online discounts? Many attractions offer discounts for online bookings, and with further investigation you may find various discount codes. To find these websites, Google discount codes. How economical is your transport? When getting around, it's essential that you are doing so at the best way that suits your budget. If you drive, then it may be worth looking at your vehicle more closely. There are several areas to consider when working out the actual cost of your vehicle. Insurance, fuel, vehicle tax and yearly running costs are all areas that should be calculated when looking at the total overall cost. If you're driving a 4x4 with high insurance and tax brackets that does 15 miles to the gallon, then it may be time to consider trading in your old car. But before you do, scour the market for bargains. Perhaps consider an ex-rental or demo. If you can walk or cycle to work, then consider this as an alternative to using the car. Also work out monthly cost of using public transport as a comparison. Perhaps if making a complete lifestyle change, incorporate some fitness into your daily commute. Putting money down the toilet. After a busy day at the office, it can be refreshing to pop down the public house and have a few beers to relax. It can also be part of the daily ritual to grab a 4-pack or a bottle of wine on the way home. Over the coming weeks, set a weekly budget for alcohol consumption. Alcohol is regularly the most common microtransaction and can amount to at least £1,000 per year for the occasional drinker. Consider a fortnightly detox replacing alcohol with a fruit juice or water. Smoking. If you smoke, this can be a better time to improve your health. What a reason. 20-a-day cigarette habit costs about £2,000 per year. If you've tried before and haven't been able to curb your habit, then think about getting support. Talk to your local doctor's surgery and ask them what government incentives and programs are available. You may find that if you're on benefits, that supportive medication is available free of charge. Your spare room. If you have a spare room within your household, start to think about how you can earn money from this wasted space. Work out an income based on what you could earn from renting this room out for 6 months of the year. Discuss the pros and cons based on a short-term arrangement. Although it may mean that you lose your privacy for a short term, the potential income offers a fantastic way out of debt fast. Keeping fit. Gym membership can be a substantial part of your monthly budget, especially if you do not use it. However, joining a gym can actually work to improve your financial circumstances. Spending time at the gym and using the facilities can dilute boredom and relieve the stress associated with debt. It also releases essential endorphins that will increase the sense of well-being and motivate you to improve your financial situation. If you lack the budget to join a gym or your gym membership is too expensive, then think about setting a home-based fitness program and look for affordable local classes in government centres. Shop when sales are on. Thinking about birthdays and Christmas presents in advance can actually save you money over the year. Purchase presents within sale periods, and perhaps before committing to purchase, search the internet for price-matching options. Remember to search for discount codes. To find these discount code websites, Google discount codes. Claim your entitled benefit. Most governments offer support for families and individuals that fail to meet the national accepted standard of living or income level. These benefits include child benefit, working tax credits, council tax credits, child tax credits, and other employee-related tax benefits. These benefits can provide the extra support in times of need. Avoid the sense of negativity sometimes associated with claiming state benefits, as this is your entitlement and a benefit based on the structure of your country. Check all of your add-ons. Spend some time going through your finance contracts and see what additional extras have been added within. Banks and lenders will often add on expensive insurance policies to cover loan repayments to people who don't need it. Carefully decide whether you need these additional expenses or not. In summary, these suggestions are no means a definitive list of ways of saving money. However, they offer a good starting block for your savings plan. While working through this list, think of other ways that you can save money based around your own personal routine. Make sure that any amount saved covers any deficit within your primary expenses. If there is any money remaining, then this is to be utilised within your savings planning. Look after the pennies, and they will look after themselves. Start a savings plan. Once you've worked out ways in which you can save money on your outgoings, it's time to start thinking about how you can invest or save your money. As mentioned in the beginning of this chapter, you're going to need a plan and going to need to put your financial advisor hat on. If, however, you don't feel confident in working through this information and you feel that professional advice will better suit your circumstances, then talk to your bank or building society. Perhaps you should talk to a local financial advisor for the latest economic news or trends. Developing a plan can be simple. In fact, it can be done within 30 minutes. Within this plan, you should include some of the basic information, outlining the reasons why you plan to save and the methods in which you plan to record and track your savings. Here are some steps that can assist you with the creation of a plan. Step 1. Set goals. A great starting point is to figure out how much you want to save and for what purpose. Use the process known as SMART goals as a means to assist you with this process. SMART stands for specific, measurable, obtainable, realistic and time-based. If there is a specific thing that you are saving for, start by calculating how much you will need to save in order to pay for it. Be specific about what it is and what it is going to be used for. It helps to associate as much positive feelings to the item, as this will often provide you with the motivation required when times get tough. Ensure that it's measurable. Figure out how much money you will have to set aside each month in order to reach that goal in a reasonable amount of time. As money is usually calculated in figures, this step is relatively easy. However, if you are saving for something with less specific monetary values, such as money for an emergency fund or retirement, then you should try and come up with a figure that you would be comfortable in obtaining. Make sure that your target is obtainable and realistic. Setting your goals too high or too low could allow you to lose motivation, and as a result, avoid moving forward. Make sure that you can actually achieve your goals and it is within your abilities. For example, it's unlikely if you are on minimum wage that you're going to earn enough to pay off your £200,000 mortgage within 2 months. One of the most important parts of any goal is to set a date in which you aim to achieve the final result. A goal without a completion date leaves the project open to procrastination and excuses. An example of a good SMART goal is, I'm going to save £2,000 within the next 2 years by setting up a monthly direct debit for £83.33 from my current account to my savings account. This money is going to pay for a new motorcycle. Though it's 2 years away, I've seen the motorcycle that I like. It's a 2000 XX Meg 600cc with less than 24,000 miles on the clock in black and white. I've spoken to the insurance company and worked out the tax and all of the expenses. Saving this amount of money will pay for the entire initial setup. By purchasing the motorcycle, I can sell our second car and use this to commute to work, thus saving me X or X amount per month. Step 2. Where to put your money. Select a savings account. It's tough to start saving unless you have a separate account in which your savings remain untouched. Avoid keeping your savings in a current account that you use on a daily basis, as temptation can often lead to spending the money allocated for savings. Savings accounts provide a safe, secure and convenient place for you to store your money that you have saved. They can also even build up your savings by offering interest. This means that the bank or building society will pay you a higher rate of interest for depositing money into that account. If you don't have a savings account, then a simple call or visit to your existing bank can be all that is required. If you already have a savings account, then you will need to make sure that you have one which best suits your needs. Here are the most common types of savings account. Remember to discuss the banking needs and plans regularly with your bank, as they may have new products or be aware of tax incentives that will be of greater benefit. The first is a basic savings account. This is the most basic type of savings account that banks will usually offer. People can deposit and withdraw money from this account, the balance of which earns a minimal rate of interest, usually around 0.5 to 1% yearly. This type of savings account usually allows you the most freedom, however it offers the least amount of interest. The second is a high-yield savings account. High-yield savings accounts usually offer a better interest rate than regular savings accounts, sometimes 2% and more, but usually come with more restrictions. Most of these accounts have a minimum balance required and a limit of transactions that you can make each month. If you don't need to take money out of your account on a regular basis, then this can be a better option. The third is an online savings account. With the recent emerge of online banking, many institutions have begun to offer high-interest online savings accounts, anywhere between 4 and 6%. The reason that these institutions can offer such a high rate associated with opening actual physical branches. Step 3. Things to consider when choosing your savings account. When looking at the ideal place to keep your money, there are several things to consider. These points will determine which type of savings account will best suit your overall plan and objective. Some savings accounts will require you to keep a minimum balance in your account at all times and penalise you if you fall below the amount. Make sure that if your account does require a minimum balance, that you have enough money to meet the balance on a continuing basis. As mentioned in previous chapters, make sure that you have sufficient funds to cover these deposits if your income suffers a blip. Banks will sometimes charge a small monthly fee for you to have a savings account, although most will waive that fee if you keep to the minimum balance. You will also want to find out if they charge extra for withdrawals, transfers, or any other transactions. Make sure that you are clear on this information. It would seem pointless building up interest only to have it deducted when failing to meet one of the account's criteria. The interest rates that are offered by different savings accounts can vary widely. Make sure to research different banks and to find the best interest rates. Talk to more than one bank and use the mass of the internet search tools available to offer a number of options. A good place to start is to look on comparison websites that automatically calculate the best interest rates based on your monthly payments and the term of your saving agreement. Some banks will have different rules when it comes to how you can access the money in your savings account. Most don't allow you to write checks with a savings account. Some may allow you to access to make withdrawals via a card. Online banks that don't have any physical branches will often require you to transfer money back to your current account before you can access it. This usually involves waiting a few days for processing. When choosing a savings account, make sure to consider how often you need to access your money. Also be aware that some accounts have notice periods, which lock in your money for a period after you make the withdrawal. Although this may sound like an annoying restriction, it actually works as a safety net for those sporadic withdrawals. In summary, even the most responsible, intelligent and practical people can sometimes become overwhelmed by their finances and have difficulty saving. The steps discussed above can help you to get on your way towards your saving goals. Remember, the temporary thrill that you get from spending money can't come close to the satisfaction and sense of accomplishment that you feel when you're looking at your savings account and see all of the money you've been able to save. Chapter 5. Trusting yourself with money. So you've broken down your finances, understand what money is coming in every month, and what you can do to start saving. How can you make sure that these old habits do not return? We all know that falling back into old habits is easy, but in doing so in this case could be your last opportunity for financial freedom. It's essential that you accept that your budget and financial planning isn't created to make your life miserable or turn you into a hermit. It's created to re-educate and help you manage your money. We all have income and we all have expenses, and without proper allocation and management of either, we all have the opportunity to be untrustworthy with our finances. The goal when re-educating yourself is to lay the foundation for allocating what portion of your income is required to cover each expense, and to enjoy life rather than it being a constant struggle. In working with the specifics, you have the ability to offer your mind clarity. Take control. Trust a system. When creating a personal plan, you take control of your money and so ensure that it doesn't control you. You also set rules which your subconscious mind will notice. For example, if I put £20 per month into a savings account, I can feel good about doing something positive with my finances. This feel-good factor will also spur you to respect money more and take a positive approach to an increased savings pattern. Most people save money as an afterthought, or when it's considered a necessity for something such as a holiday or future need. Unfortunately, this attitude is slightly backwards, as it's likely that there is almost never any money left over in order to save. So, how do you take away the risk of negative thinking associated with creating a financially secure future? The answer is simple. Create a system that automatically takes away the element of untrustworthy behavior and temptation. Thanks to modern technology and the spending habits of other like-minded people, it is very easy to set up an automatic savings plan. If you currently have your wages directly deposited into your current account, you can ask to have part of your pay directly deposited into your savings account. As mentioned previously, it doesn't matter if it is £5, £10 or £100. Simply having this happen automatically will ensure money is saved every time you are paid. It also avoids the risk of making excuses about paying extra next month. If your employer doesn't deposit your salary directly into your account, there is still an easy option available. Your bank can link checking and saving accounts together and establish automatic transfers between accounts at specific dates that you request. So if you deposit your salary on the last day of every month, you could establish an automatic transfer of a set amount of money from your current account to your savings account. The transfer will coincide with this deposit, perhaps 2 to 5 days later. Avoid giving in. Trust your strengths. As we have discussed in detail during previous chapters, in order to build up wealth and reach financial freedom, you simply need to spend less than you earn and put a little away for your future wants. Although it's an easy concept to understand, each of us, no matter what our upbringing, will still find it hard. But why? Well, recognition of your habit is one way and accepting your past strategies is another. But there's a third: temptation. Temptation is always something that will lure us back into debt. As mentioned in Chapter 3, the value you put on money will have an effect on how you go about obtaining it. But if you took away the temptation, or at least avoided the avenues that led to debt in the first place, would you still get into debt? Probably not. So what are the biggest reasons for overspending, and where does the money come from? It's too easy. Trust your instinct. Most people are caught subconsciously within the safety of their own home or workplace. Within this